Cool. Great. Awesome. So would be really happy if everyone can interact with me. Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. So as the organizers mentioned, so I'm Bharat, co-founder at Rohan Pathshala, and I've worked at Tower Research previously for 2 years. Yeah. So the main agenda of today's webinar is like covering two topics: bitmasking and backtracking, right? So first of all, like as a prerequisite, I would like to know how many of you are aware of basics of recursion. Can you type in a yes if you are? Are you aware of some basic idea of recursion? Okay, how many? Anyone who is not, feel free to answer no. I'll be more than happy. I'll just diverge a little bit and try to cover those concepts. Okay, many people are. I'm not. No worry, Harshit. Don't worry. Okay, great. So let's start. So before starting, I'll take up a random problem. Okay. So first of all, bit masking and backtracking are in themselves very huge topics, right? So we can't cover obviously all the details. But what I'll do is I'll take one famous problem and try to discuss all the approaches related to it. They will cover almost all the major concepts from all these concepts, right? So let me start. The problem goes like this. Let's say we are given an array of size n. Now this array represents a set. How many of you are aware of what a set is? Are you all aware of what a set is? Just type in a yes. Probably give a small small answer. What is a set? Not any formal definition, just a random thought. Anyone? What is a set? Okay, collections. Exactly. Great. So set is simply collection of important thing, distinct items. Okay, so when we talk about set, like mathematical set, we don't say something like 1, 2, 2. Generally, there are not any duplicates in a set, but something like 1, 2 or something like 1, 2, 3 is a set. Okay, so simply the question says you are, let's say, given an array of size n which represents a set, meaning that it will have only distinct elements. Okay, now what you need to do with this set is you want to generate all the subsets of it. Okay, what is a subset? So subset is simply if you choose some of the elements like 1, 2, 3, any number of elements from the set and make a set out of them. So for example, if I choose 1 and 3 from this and make a set out of it, this could be one subset of this set. Okay, so given a set, you want to generate all the possible subsets of it. Okay, so first question from me to you guys is, can you try to come up with all the subsets for this set 1, 2, 3, and can you tell how many there will be? So just try to think. Are you able to generate 2 to the power n? Okay, great. Many of you know total number of sets equal to 8, 9, 8. Okay. Okay. How many of you are aware of how that 2 to the power n comes into the picture? Are you aware of how that formula comes into the picture? Why do you say 2 to the power n? We'll talk about it. So yeah, 8 is pretty much right. So if I talk about 1, 2, 3, the possible subsets of this could be only 1, only 2, only 3. If I am selecting single element from them, right? These 3. If I am selecting 2 elements, then it could be 1, 2, 1, 3, then 2, 3. If I'm selecting 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. this becomes 7 sets, which is left empty. I can even select no element from this, and that will also be a set, right? Yeah. So we have 8 subsets out of it. Is everyone clear with this idea? What are subsets of this particular set? How will we like basically print out all the subsets? Okay, cool. Cool. There are 8 in number, right? Okay. So let's see how this 8 comes. And if we have a general n size set, then how will we know how many subsets will it have? Okay. Before that, let me clear up one more thing. So let's talk about something like 3 comma 1. I can pick 3 from here and 1 from here and generate this set. Why is this not considered another subset? Anyone? Why am I not considering 3 1 as a separate subset? Yep, great. So this subset and this subset, if we look at it, they are just permutations of each other, right? And in a set, order does not matter. So 1 3 and 3 1 are not considered as separate set. This is a very important point to note so that you are not confused by the solution that we do going forward. Okay. So these two are not considered separate sets because elements are same. So for two sets to be considered different, at least one item must be different. Is everyone clear with this idea that why we are not taking this one? At least one item should be different between the two sets. Yes or no? Okay. Cool. I'll remove this. If anyone is unclear at any point, please type in a no or repeat. I'll happily do that. Okay. I'm not here in rush. So if you have any doubts, please ask. Cool. Moving on. So how did we get with? Let's try to come up with a formula for a general size set n. Okay. So let's say I have a set like a0, a1 up to a n minus 1. So 0 to n minus 1, there will be n elements. How many subsets will it have? So how to come up with it? One of you mentioned for each element, we have two options. Either it will be there in a subset or it will not be there in a subset, right? If we look at a0, which is our 1, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 subsets in which this 1 is present, but there are 4 subsets in which 1 is not present. Is everyone able to see that? Yes or no? For this element, there are 4 things in which it is there and 4 things in which it is not there. So for every element, I can say I have 2 options. Either I will take it into the set or not take it into the set. Does everyone agree with this? There are just 2 options, right? Either it will be there in the set or not there in the set. Yes or no? Others, what do you think? Does this make sense? Just type in a no if not. Okay, cool. Similarly for this, again, yes or no, and so on. Yes or no. So for each one of them, I have 2 options, right? I have 2 options for each one of them. So in total, can I say I will have 2 into 2 into 2 up n times total 2 power n subsets. So for everyone, I have 2 options. Either I'll take it or not take it, right? And by product rule, how many of you are aware of product rule of combinatorics, basic product rule? Yes, no? Product rule, sum rule, are you aware of those two? Important concepts from combinatorics? No? Just type in a no, if that's okay. Okay, I'll quickly explain them, right? So let's say you have three places. Okay, A, B, C. Now, there are three ways to go from A to B and two ways to go from B to C. Okay, three ways here, two ways here. Can you tell how many total ways are there to reach from A to C? Can you calculate? How many ways are there? Right. So there are six ways, right? You can see that also. Either I can go this, then this, one, this, then this, two, this, then this, three, four, five, and six. Can everyone see the six ways? How are we getting the six ways to go from A to C? Yes or no? Others, can you type in yes? So product rule says that if you have some X choices to do one thing, Y choices to do another thing, and you want to do both things. So there's an and in the middle, that you have to do this as well as you have to do this. Then you multiply the choices to get the total ways. Okay. So if there is an and in the middle, that is, you have to do this also and you have to do this also, then you multiply the choices. Similarly, if we look at here, for this you have to make a choice whether you take it or not. Two choices. You take it or not, two choices. You have to make a choice for each one of them. So that is why we are multiplying. Is that making sense? How we are using product rule here? For this product rule, is that making sense? So X things to do one, Y things to do another, and you have to do both. So X into Y, total ways. Okay. Another option, if I say you are at A, B, C. Let's say there are three ways to reach from A to B, two ways to reach from A to C. Okay. Now you have to find number of ways to reach either B or C. Then what will be your answer? From A, you have to reach either B or C. What are the number of ways? Right, 5. Either you can take this path, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 ways, right? So this is some rule which says if you have to do one thing or the other, and there are X ways to do one thing, Y ways to do another, then you add the number of ways. So when there is or, you add. When there is and, you multiply. Does that make sense? Combinatorics rule. They are very, very useful throughout competitive programming, throughout all the lead code problems, right? Are these two making sense? So whenever you are, like, you must be confused sometimes, like you want to multiply or you want to add when you are calculating number of ways. So this is the best way to look at it, what you have to do. Okay, cool. Let's go back to here. Anyone who's unclear, let me know with a repeat. I'll happily repeat those. Otherwise, I'll just do away with those. No, Anmol, you are clear or you want me to repeat? You're clear? Ah, okay, cool. Remove this. Cool. Coming back to this. So we have 2 to the power n subsets. Now let's carefully look at this problem, right? Carefully look at this problem. So you have two options to make for a naught, right? Either you can take it or not take it. Let's say I decide to take it. Can I say I have made my decision for this and now I want to generate the subsets of the remaining? Yes or no? So I have made the decision for this, that I'll keep it. And now I need to generate all the subsets of the remaining elements. Right? This could be my first option when I take it. Second option could be I don't take it. Right? Now I'll not take this. Can I say still, now that I have decided I'll not take this, I need to just generate the subsets of the remaining? Yes or no? Everyone, are you able to see this? So in first case, I will say, let's say I take this. I will keep it in my set. Now I just need to generate the subsets of remaining. Second case, I'll say I'll not take this, I'll remove it from the set and I'll generate all the subsets of the remaining. So this is a standard symptom for tagging a problem like recursion. So if you have to look whether a problem can be solved via recursion or not, you look at that if for a bigger value of n, let's say there were 5 elements, to solve that problem, if you can take some choices for one element and solve and arrive at the same problem for less number of elements, right? I'll repeat what I just said. If you want to solve a problem for bigger number, let's say 5 elements, and for one element you are able to make a decision, I'll keep it or I'll not keep it, and you, because of that decision, you arrive at a problem which is the same problem, that is generate the subset but for a smaller value, then that problem can be tagged as a recursion problem. That is, if f of n depends upon some x where x is less than n. Okay, a little mathematical, we'll not go into mathematics, I know it can be scary, but in a way, if I want to generate subsets of 1, 2, 3, I'll do the first option, take one. As soon as I take one, one is gone. Now I'll generate all the subsets of 2, 3. Can you tell me what are the subset of 2, 3? Can I say there will be 2, 3 empty and 2, 3? Do you agree with this? Yes or no? Subsets of 2, 3 are these 4. Okay. And I had decided I'll take one. So what are the actual subsets that I have made? I have made 1, 2, which is this one. I have made 1, 3 because 1 I have decided already I'll take. So 1, 3, which is this one. Similarly, 1 empty, which is just 1, this one. And lastly, 1, 2, 3, which is this one. Can everyone see that how this first case has generated all the subsets with 1? Yes or no? So because I decided I'll take 1 and generate all the subset of remaining and added 1 to them, I generated these 4. Second option would be leave 1. Again the same. I'll generate subsets of 2, 3, which are the same. And this time I don't need to add 1. So in fact, I have generated this empty and 2, 3. Can everyone see that? In leave case, I have in fact generated the remaining 4. Yes or no? How many of you are able to see that? Because in leave, we don't need to add 1, right? Whatever I've generated, that is the answer. Okay. So this is a standard case of recursive problem, right? What other recursive problem do you know? Like common recursive problem? I'll try to draw a parallel. Anyone who remembers any recursive problem that we generally code? Yeah, Fibonacci, right? So what is Fibonacci? To generate nth Fibonacci, you take n minus 1th Fibonacci and add n minus 2 Fibonacci. Yes or no? How many of you are aware of this? Fibonacci. To generate the nth Fibonacci number, you say you generate the n minus 1th, n minus 2th and add them, right? So again, for a bigger values decision, I have got the smaller decisions and done some operation on it. Same here, to generate subsets of 1, 2, 3, I have said I'll either take one. So either I'll take one and generate subsets of 2, 3, or I will leave one and generate subsets of 2, 3. How many of you are able to understand this last point? So I'll take one, add one to whatever I generate from here. That is one option. That is what I've done here. Generate all options for 2, 3 and add one to it. This is the first part. Or you generate all the options for 2, 3 but leave one. So this is take case and this is leave case. How many of you are able to understand this? So there's a name for this. How many of you are aware of that? What is this expression called? Anyone who is aware? No? This term is called as a recurrence relation. Okay. So it is a good idea to first come up with your recurrence relation and then only start coding, right? What I've seen people do, they'll just look at a problem, identify recursion, and then start coding it. That will never work, right? That will mess things up. Just take some moment, come up with this, that okay, these are the steps that I'll do. I either take one or not take one, then this is what will be left with. This is what will be left with. Once you are able to come up with this recurrence, then writing recursion is much simpler, and we'll see how. But is everyone clear till this point? Let me know with a yes. Others? Okay. Cool. So before we move forward, let me do one thing. Let me test your recursion quickly. Okay, I'll write a small piece of code. I'll want you guys to come up with the output of it. Okay, so let's say there is a function void which takes n. So I'm writing it in C++, but in principle, you can think of it as a pseudocode, right? I think I'm not using any fancy function of C++. So even in Python, it will just be fn, then dot dot, like colon, and move forward, right? So yeah, void f. Can you tell what will be printed? So this is from main that I've called. So just take a moment, try to run it in your mind or in the copy pen if you want, and then see what will be printed. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, anyone with a different answer? People are saying either 1, 2, 3, 4 or 4, 3, 2, 1. Anyone with a different answer? 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay, interesting. Okay, so yeah, I think okay, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's check your answer quickly, right? So if you are passing 4 here, can I not be sure that 4 will be printed? Can I not be sure that 4 will be printed? Yeah, Ayush, you are right. So yeah, yes, Ayush is right. So that will be the output. Let's see how. Let's see how. So for the sake of it, I'll reduce the complexity a little bit. I'll try to run this for 2. Okay. Let's see what happens. I call f of 2 is 2 0. Answer is no, right? I'll come here. This will call f of 1. Can everyone see that? Yes or no? Can everyone agree till this point? From main, I have called f of 2. It went here. It did this check. It was not true. Then it went here. It will call f of 1. Yes or no? Can everyone follow the code till this point? Okay. Others, can you follow the code till this point? Right. So now this is a common problem that people face. After that, what they do is they'll say, okay, it will call for 1 and now it will print 4. Okay. That is why I think most of you came up with 4, 3, 2, 1. But listen to this point carefully. Let's say there is a main. This calls some f. Let's say it prints a. Now this f calls g, prints b. Now this g calls h and prints c. And this h, let's say, prints d. Which one do you think will be printed first? So main calls f, prints a. F calls g, prints b. G calls h, prints c. H prints d. Which one will be printed first? Which will be the first one that will be printed? Yes, it will be d, right? So in normal code, you are able to understand this, that as soon as you reach here, this function is stopped, right? This will not be done. I'll first move here and do this function. As soon as I reach g here, it will call this and go here. As soon as I reach h here, it will call this and print this. So first thing will be printed is print d. Okay. Same idea. Let's say this f was not f, but some g. Then can I say I would have first gone to g, waited for it to end, and then only printed this? Yes or no? Can I say that? That first I will call this. I will complete this fn minus 1. Then only I will print this. Yes or no? Everyone, are you able to agree with this? No? Same idea, right? When main called f, it did not continue, right? It called f. F done. F did it work. Same idea here. If f is calling f, then there is not much difference there as well, right? It will first call this. Everything here will complete. Then only this will be printed. So a good idea to visualize this kind of stuff is to draw something called as a recursive tree. Okay, let's draw the recursive tree quickly. We'll come to this question. Don't forget about this question. Just keep it in your memory stack somewhere. Okay, yeah. So let's say we started with f of 4. It checked this. It went here. It called for f of 3, right? So I have called for f of 3 and paused at, let's say, line number 3. Is everyone able to understand this? That I've called f of 3 and paused at line number, actually 2. Assuming this is line number 1, I have paused at line number 2. Yes or no? Okay. Now this side will run. And don't worry, once it completes, I'll go back here and start again from line 2. We'll do that. Okay. So let's say now, okay, let me reduce it. I was with f of 2, right? So let me make it f of 2. This is f of 1. Now, when I reach f of 1, again, this is not true. It will call f of 0 at line 2. Can everyone see till this point? Okay. Now, what is the next step? F of 0, n equal to 0, return. So this ends and it returns. Return is what? Going back to the parent. So I went back to this and started my execution from line number 2 plus 1, which is 3, this point. Can everyone see that? Yes or no? Okay, I'll quickly repeat. F of 2, it called f of 1, I went here. F of 1 called f of 0, I went here. F of 0 returned directly. It did not do anything. So I went back to f of 1 and asked, okay, where do I need to start now? So it said, you had done till line number 2, start from line number 3, which is print. What will it print? What is n right now? Right, it is 1. So first thing printed will be 1. Then what is the next step? It will print 1 and call f of n minus 1. What will it call? F of 0 again, right? So it again called f of 0. F of 0 again said, okay, you are at 0, just return. So this ended and it returned. Now, when f of 1 called f of 0, it was at line number 4. Where does f of 1 need to start now? Line number? Which line number does it needs to continue? F of 1. Can you tell the line number? So it called this at line number 4, right? At 2, it called this, it returned. At 3, it printed. At 4, it called this. Now it is being returned again. So where should I start now? No, right? Why 1? Why will it go to the starting again? It will not go to the starting again, right? So till this, it has completed. So f of 1 function will say, you execute line number 5. Is there a line number 5? No, right? There is no line number 5. Can everyone see that? I have completed till here. Are you all confused? Just take a moment, think, and then reply. Are you able to understand? If no, that is also cool. I'll repeat it. But just type in a no. Confused. Okay. I'll explain it again. Listen again. Okay. Did you understand till this point? F of 2, check this, then called f of 1. At what line? Line number 2. So at line number 2, it called f of 1. Do you agree with this? Okay. Why am I keeping this line number? Why am I keeping this line number? Anyone? Yes, exactly. So we need to remember where we left it off. Why? So that we can continue the progress from there. Can you understand that? So when I am back at f of 2, it will start running from third line, which is 2 plus 1. Do you agree with this? That why are we keeping with this line number? So that we know where we have stopped and start executing after that. Okay, cool. So we have reached here, f of 1. Let's look at this. F of 1. This is not 0. We called f of 0. So we called f of 0 again with line number 2. Can everyone understand till this point how these two call happened with f of 0? Yes or no? Others? Cool. So now as soon as I have reached f of 0, I look at this line 1, 0 equal to 0, return. So this ends and I return. Now f of 1 had completed till line 2. Where will it start now from? Can you tell that? It had completed till line 2. So where should I start? Where should it start now? It should resume from line number 3. Is everyone able to understand that? that should resume from line number 3. Line number 3 is what? Print n. What is n? 1. So it printed 1. Is everyone able to understand till this point? Line number 3. How print happened? Okay. Now the part where everyone got confused. I'll repeat it. Listen carefully. It went to line 4 and it called f of 0. So at line 4, it called f of 0. Do you agree with this? Why this called happen? This f of n minus 1, second one. Right? Now here it says n is 0, return. So end here and return. Do you agree? This much? Now you tell me. I had completed till line 4. F of 1 had completed till line 4. Where should it start now? Next part, executing. Why 3? It had completed till 4. So why will it start at 3? It has to start after that, right? So it will start at line 5, which is what? End of the function. So basically this also ends and I go back to f of 2. Is everyone able to understand this? Because f of 1 had made its both calls and the function ended. That means f of 1 is complete now and it will return the function back to f of 2. We have reached here, end of the function. Is everyone able to see that? That we have reached end of the function for f of 1. Yes or no? Okay. Let's complete that side also. So f of 2, we had completed till line 2, which is here. What is the next step? Line 3, which is print 2. Can everyone see that? Print 2. Yes or no? We have reached here back from this. Now print 2. So it prints 2. Next, it goes here, calls f of 1 again at line 4. So at line 4, it will call f of 1. Okay. Same thing as this will happen, and there will be one more 1 printed here. So answer will be 1 to 1. Is everyone able to understand this idea? Yes or no? So drawing out this thing, this is called as recursive tree diagram. Okay. What does recursive tree diagram do? It says, if you don't want any confusion, what do? You write your function, look at all your next calls, make them in form of a tree. So let me do that. So let's say I'm starting with f of 2. I know I'm going to call 2 times f of 1, f of 1. Then when I'm at f of 1, I'll again call 2 times f of 0, f of 0. So I will make this complete diagram and then start executing like this. How many of you are aware of trees, like some kind of tree traversal? What is the traversal that we are doing here? If we are going left, then here, then here. Anyone aware of this tree traversal? DFS? No, DFS is a generic term. This is a specific binary tree traversal. There is a name for it. Anyone aware? Yeah, pre-order. Pre-order is the right answer because you go left, then here, then right. Okay. It's a huge, like, that's why I said at the beginning, this bit masking and bit manipulation, in fact, are a very huge subject that can take hours and hours to explain. Yeah, but I'm trying to go as much in depth to whatever little I'm trying to cover today, right? But cool, yeah. So this is pre-order traversal of our recursive tree. Cool, moving on. So let's go back to our original problem, right? Let's go back, divert our mind to our original problem, which said that given a set, what you need to do? You need to generate its subset. And we decided that either we'll take an element or not take an element. Do you guys remember that? Like, can you go back to that? Just type in a yes. So we had a set 1, 2, 3. We wanted to take or leave each element. Okay. So let's try to draw a diagram for this, which represents what we are trying to do here. Okay, a recursive diagram, and see how it will help us write the code. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3. We want to generate its subset. Initially, let's say our subset is empty. It does not have anything. Now, what are my options for the first element? Can I say there were two options? Either I'll take it or not take it. Yes or no? Those were the two options. Either I'll take it or not take it. Everyone, do you remember that? Yes or no? Can you try to go back to that? Anyone else who is still with me? Just type in a yes so that I know. Okay, great. Many people are. That's good to know. Okay, so going back to that. So I said that for any element, we have two options. Either I'll take it or not take it. So let's do that. If I decide to take one, can I say my set will have one? Yes or no? So this is the take side. Okay. And if I decide to leave one, what will I have? Will I have, what kind of set will I have? Initially, I have empty set and decide to leave my one. What will my set look like now? After leaving one, still it will still be empty, right? It will not have anything. Someone is saying 2, 3. Okay, so I'll remove that confusion. So what we are saying is we are considering the elements one by one and making decision for them. So right now we have not even considered 2 and 3. Are you able to understand that? So right now, at the beginning, we have not considered anything. At the next step, we have considered 1. So either we took 1 or we left 1. Now we will consider 2. So let's say I decide to take 2. What will my set look like now? If I decide to take 2 from here. Others, what do you think? Yeah, so I had taken 1. I've also taken 2. So it will look like 1, 2. If I decide to leave 2, then it will be 1. Yes or no? Let's do the same here on this side. If I decide to take 2 or leave 2, what will my two sets be? Right. Either they'll contain 2 if I decide to take it, or they'll be empty. Similarly, last we are left with 3. So again, let's take the decision for 3. Either take 3 or leave 3. Take 3, leave 3. Here also take 3, leave 3. Take 3 and leave 3. So this side, if I take 3, I'll get 1, 2, 3. If I leave 3, I'll get 1, 2. If I take 3 here, I'll get 1, 3. If I leave, I'll get 1. Can everyone see that? Clear decision. Take, leave, leave gives me 1. Take, leave gives me 1. Can everyone see that? That all the subsets will be generated in this way? Yes or no? Others, what do you think? Are you able to get this? How other sets are generated in this way? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's analyze this a little bit more and try to link it with our main topic, which was bit masking. Okay. So let's look at how we have generated this set. Can I say it's take, take, take? If I take 1, 2, 3, first set is take, take, take. Yes or no? Take, take, take has generated this. Then this one is take, take, leave. Next one is take, leave, take. Then next one is take, leave, leave, and so on. Can everyone see that? There will be 4 more like leave, take, take, leave, and so on. Others? So now we'll see one more like magic sort of thing. Others, are you agreeing with this? This is how it is happening. If I decide to take all of them, I'll get this. And this will be take, take, leave, and so on. Right? Last one will be what? Empty set, which will be leave, leave, leave. Can everyone see that? Anyone else who's still with me? Just type in a yes. Okay. So if I replace all the takes with 1 and all the leaves with 0. So here I'll get 1, 1, 1. How many of you are aware of binary numbers? Can I know? How many of you are aware of binary numbers? Yes or no? Okay. What is 111 in binary number? 7, right? So can I say this is 7? In fact, like if I were to, hypothetically, if I were to take 7, convert it into binary and interpret it like 111 and take all of them, then that is perfectly valid. Let's look at this. This is 110. What is this? What is 110? 6. Next one. What will that be? 5, 4. What will the last one be? LLL? 0. So can I say, just listen to this statement carefully. Can I say if I run a loop from 0 to 7, okay, if I run a loop from 0 to 7, for each number, if I convert it into binary and assume that 1 means I'll take that position and 0 means I'll not take that position, right? For example, if I get TLT, that means I'll take the first element, which is 1, I'll leave the second one, and I'll take the third element. So 1 and 3. Can I say this will also help me generate all the subsets? Yes or no? Others? Are you all able to see this? Okay. So this specific technique is termed as bit masking. So bit masking is nothing but you use numbers and their binary forms to interpret them as either visiting something or not visiting something, taking something, not taking something, like that. Okay. So in bit masking technique, what you do, you try to use binary representation of numbers, and that will give you certain information, right? Is that making sense to everyone? Yes or no? What is bit manipulation, like bit masking here? Okay, and this is the very common theme used throughout, right? It is even used in heavy concepts like DP. Okay, but the idea is same, that you have some information which is either 1 or 0, like you have taken it or not taken it, but you represent it as numbers, and that saves you space, because here what will you have to do? You will have to store actual sets, right? So here otherwise you would have to store something like true true or 1 0 in an array or something, but you can condense that information into a single integer because it's only 1 and 0. Okay, so this common technique of bit masking is used. What if n is greater than 32? How can we store certain integers? We cannot, right? So that's a limitation of bit masking, that it only works for small numbers. Okay, and that is true even for recursion. What did we just saw? Number of sets that you generate is 2 to the power n. So imagine if n is 100, can you even generate all the sets, subsets? What do you think? Can you even generate all the subsets? 2 to the power 100 subsets. That's even not possible. So that is why recursion and bit masking go hand in hand, right? If you can't do recursion because n is too large, then probably you can't also do bit masking. Okay, and if you can do recursion, then likelihood is that number is small and there might be a solution existing using bit masking. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes or no? Okay. Cool. Let me quickly introduce everyone to backtracking as well. Backtracking based solution of this approach. Then why many algos use recursion only? So what is recursion? So let me explain that. So recursion is in a way brute force. Okay, it is not an algorithm, right? So there are two ways of doing anything. There is an iterative way and there is a recursive way. So recursion is not an optimization technique. It's not something that helps you optimize. It's something that helps you write brute force. Okay, that's the only thing. So whatever you write with recursion, it's brute force. Instead of doing it iteratively, you do it recursively. Then there are techniques to optimize this recursion, which is commonly known as dynamic programming. Okay, but recursion in itself is not something that is an optimization technique. Does that make sense? Then why it's so much important for interviews? Everyone says that it's most important topic. Yes, because as I said, if you don't know how to write brute force using recursion, then how will you optimize it, right? Then your DP is gone, then your trees are gone, then your graph is gone, and all that stuff. Okay. Repeat, please. Okay. Ayush, you have to tell me which part you want me to repeat. Did you understand this 720? This thing, bit masking? Just this one? After bit masking. Okay, cool. I'll do that. So someone asked that why do we use recursion in questions, right? So I said, yeah, okay. So I said that recursion is not an optimization technique. For example, you would have studied binary search, you would have studied things like stacks and all that stuff, right? Next greater element. So all those concepts help you optimize a brute force further using certain data structure algorithm, right? Do you agree with this much? Like binary search helps in a sorted array to optimize linear search further, as a very basic example, right? But recursion is not capable of doing that. Recursion is for writing absolute brute force. Okay, it's the thing that takes most time. But then why is it important? It is important because it serves as a baseline for many optimization techniques using data structure and algorithm. For example, recursion, on basis of recursion only you learn dynamic programming. On basis of recursion only you learn backtracking. On basis of recursion only you learn this bit masking technique and graphs and trees and all that, right? So if you are not comfortable with recursion, then half of the DSA you can't do. Does that make sense? That was the thing where I said about all the techniques. Okay. So recursion is a pre thing. Like you have to do this so that you are able to understand future algorithms. Does that make sense? Cool. I'll go through other questions as well quickly. All the recursive problem can be done with loops also? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Some problems are inherently recursive. Okay. For example, I'll give you a very real world example. How many of you have written HTML code? Have you all written HTML code? Okay. Anyone who is not, please do, right? At least you should have one project. So make sure that you write some kind of front end and back end. Anyways, so if you look at any HTML code, what does it have? It has certain divs. Inside that, it has certain more things, and then another div. Then these might have further breakage. Yes or no? Like this is how it is structured. So there are divs, inside that there are divs, inside that there are divs. Okay. Now, how does browser understand this? So to understand this, browser has to use recursion. Why? It will look at these, like this is the starting div, this is the ending div. Then it will see everything inside it. It needs to evaluate first, right? It is a box, and inside it recursively, it needs to render these things. Then if there is something inside this, then also recursively, it has to render these things. Then inside, if there is anything, it has to re-render these things. So even something as simple as a browser needs to use recursion for being able to print something on, let's say, your website. Okay, it needs to understand this. For that, it needs to use recursion. Does the idea making sense? Like HTML. Another example common is your folder and file structure. There is a folder. Inside that, there are multiple folders. Inside that, there are multiple folders, and so on. So how it is organized in something like a tree, right? There is this my computer, your main one. Then inside that, there are things. Inside that, there are things, and so on. So to get to here, you actually do a recursive traversal. Or let's say if you ask computer, what all is in my computer, when you search, it has to recursively look at everything to be able to tell you what all is present in my computer. So these are some real world example where recursion is used throughout, right? In your at least computers. Anyways, moving on. So I was going through backtracking as well once. Okay, so let's go to this again. Let's look at this recursive tree again. Okay. Just now we had discussed that first, as soon as we call for this take branch, it will do all this complete thing. Then only it will call for the leave branch. Everyone remembers that? We had just discussed, right? If there is an F which is calling some G and some H, first G will complete, then only H will execute. Same here, if this is F, it is calling for F1 and F2. First F1 will complete, then only F2 will run. Yes or no? Everyone with me? Okay, so let's focus on this more. So let's say I decide to take, I put 1 into this set and I called. Now I put 2 into this set and called. I put 3 into this set and called. I have reached here. Do you agree? I decide to take and reached here. And I've got 1, 2, 3. Everyone, are you with me? First we'll go here. This also will do the same, right? First it will call this. This will happen later. This will happen later. Similarly, this one will also call this and this will happen later. So this is the first thing that will be executed, right? So what will I do here? I have considered every element. I'll print it. So now I have one of my set, 1, 2, 3. One of my subset, 1, 2, 3. Yes or no? Agree? And I move back from here to here. Can everyone see the flow? So I took 1, put it in the set, took 2, put it in the set, took 3, put it in the set. I've reached the end, made decision for everyone. I'll print. Yes or no? So here my job is done. Now I'll go back because I need to leave and then do some computation. Everyone agrees with this? With the flow, let me know. Others, do you agree with my flow till now? Okay. So now carefully think this, whatever data structure you have maintained, it could be an array, it could be a vector, it could be an actual set, or it could be a map, anything that you have maintained. Can I say it will contain 1, 2, and 3 once it had reached here? Yes or no? It will contain 1, 2, and 3 when I have reached here. But nowhere I have removed this 3, right? When I call for leave, can I say it will still have 1, 2, 3? Yes or no? Like nowhere I have mentioned that I will remove whatever I have put it into it, right? Nowhere I have mentioned I have removed this 3. So when this recursion happens, it puts 1, it puts 2, it puts 3 and reaches here. Now it wants to leave 3 and reach here, but I have never mentioned that I'll remove 3 from it. Can everyone see that? Yes or no? Right? Take it like a normal flow, right? Let's say there is a global set or an array that I'm maintaining. Now there is a function f which says put inside array the current element and then call f with the new array. Okay, this is the take call. Now if it calls again one more time, doesn't it sound stupid saying that this is a leave call? Because any which ways I have added it to the set, so here also it will remain added, right? Can everyone see that? Yes or no? That whatever I have added here will remain here. Like this, these two calls won't be different, right? Just me saying that this is the take call, this is the leave call will not make it different. I need to do some steps to ensure that 3 is not present in this array when second call is made. Yes or no? So what is that step that I need to take to make sure before calling f again? Right, remove, right? I need to remove the current element to make sure that it is not present when I call the next part. Okay. So this is the concept of backtracking. Backtracking says that if you have done something here before a recursion, right? Before calling a recursion, if you have done something, just undo it after recursion to avoid any side effects. What was the side effect? That whatever I had entered will also be used in the next call. To avoid that side effect, whatever I have done to prepare for this call, I need to undo it as soon as the call ends. So this do and undo concept is what is termed as backtracking. Is the concept making sense to everyone? That before making a recursive call, whatever you have done, just undo it so that it does not impact anything else in your larger scheme. Is this making sense to everyone? Okay, no one is saying yes. Did not make sense? You can type in repeat or no also. Perfectly okay with it. I'll explain it again. May you please repeat? Sure, I'll repeat it. So let's say I remove this. Okay, let's say I'm removing this for now. You yourself think and tell. This is my set, which was empty. Okay, what am I doing? I'm deciding to take an element So I've pushed it inside the set. Does that make sense? First step, taking the element into the set, and I'm making the recursive call. So take and recursive call. Does this make sense? So now I'm saying I have said that this is the take call, this is the leave call. But actually, if you look at it, I'm just making the same call again. So will there be any difference in this and this? What do you think? I have not made any difference, right? So whatever F does here, the same will happen here. Can you see that? Yes or no? So this array had 1, 2, 3 by the virtue of me adding the steps. When it reaches here, then also it will have 1, 2, 3 because I never removed that 3 from when I've added it, right? Can you both see that? Anmol, are you able to see that? Just look at this plainly also, right? This is also F, this is also F. So how will their results be different? They'll both be doing the same thing, right? So I need to do something before the next call to make sure that this is actually leave. And what is that? I need to undo whatever I did for before calling the previous thing. So before calling the previous function, whatever is the setup that I did, which was adding, I need to undo it, which is removing this. So I will do array dot remove current before calling this function. Does that make sense? Why I need to undo? So that next call does not have it. It is actually, in fact, the leave. Okay. Yeah. So this do and undo combined takes your backtracking. We got that theory part. Okay, cool. But we need like a program implementation of this particular thing. Yeah, that would be very easy. I'll do that next if that is the case. Okay. So let's say my function looks like void generate sets. Okay, I have this array. So let me use a set only for this array. If you do theory wise, it would be very easier. Okay, let's do that. So what do you think? What do I need in this function to identify where am I at in this tree? What do you think I need? Position, right? Can I say I need to know which element am I considering right now? Like when I was here, I was considering the first element. When I was here, I'm considering the second element. When I'm in these nodes, I'm considering the third element and so on. So I need the index to know what I am considering right now. So let me say I need to have the index. Okay. Let's recall our recursive function or recurrence relation. What was it? To generate 1, 2, 3, I said that either you do 1 plus f of 2, 3 or you do f of 2, 3. Do you remember this? Either you take it and then make the recursive call for the remaining, or you don't take it and make the recursive call for the remaining. So let me translate this to code. So take it, that means I'll add 1 to the set. So array dot insert, let's say my original set is in the form of an array. Let me call it set, or let me call it s of size n. So array dot insert s of index. Do you agree with this? Adding this to the set for making preparation, taking wala part, this part. Then I need to make a call. So generate sets index plus 1. Similarly, leaving part, generate sets index plus 1. Right? This is what I had written here also. But the problem here is whatever I had inserted, I've never removed it. Like these two are exactly the same. So I need to undo this, that I'll do here, which will be remove S of index. Can you understand these 4 statements? So add and call, then remove and call. Why we are doing remove? Just to remove the or undo the problem created by this. Yes or no? No one is able to understand this? Just have written what exactly I've written here. Others, if you have questions, please ask. Okay. Everyone is quiet. Can I get some response? Are you able to get it or not able to get it? Type in a repeat also. I'm okay with that. Okay, you got it. Great. Okay, when will this end? Like, when do we want to end the recursion and actually print it? Right. So when our index has reached the end, that is 0, 1, 2, end, which is 3. So n. Then you need to print your set and just get out from there. Yeah. Is everyone clear with this idea? So when index has reached the end, print it, return. That's it. Then add, generate, remove, generate. Yes or no? Okay. So these 2 parts, that is do and undo, form the concept of backtracking. Okay. People make it a very huge deal, but ideally backtracking is not a huge deal. What actually a huge deal is recursion. If you're comfortable with recursion, backtracking is simple. Whatever you have done before this, just undo this, right? In any way possible. So that's relatively very, very simpler compared to recursion. Recursion is the thing that you need to have a stronghold with. Okay. So this is backtracking. Great. So I think we have covered pretty much the basics of it. So what I'll do, I'll pause here in terms of teaching, and you guys can ask your questions, doubts related to anything. Your interview prep, your competitive programming, your anything, even this question. First, let's take academic doubts. Anyone having any doubt in this question? First, let's do that. Then we can go on to other doubts. Okay. But everyone just make sure that you are very good with recursion, right? It's like the only advice, best advice that I can give. Okay. Just be very thorough with recursion. Cool. Even you can watch one of our, like, we have a very good recursion video on YouTube. If you want to go ahead and watch it, like Pro Pathshala YouTube channel, you can do that. Cool. How to get best with recursion means practice or read. You need to understand some basic concepts like recurrence relation, stack diagram, recursive diagram, all these concepts first. Then it's relatively much easier to dive deeper. Channel name Prime Pathshala channel. You can search for Prime Pathshala. Yeah. Concept which we can read. Is bit masking important with respect to placement? Yes, somewhat, not very. It's just that with the help of bit masking, you reduce some space. You don't need to do this all this mumbo jumbo of recursion, but you can squeeze the things into a very simple code, right? List of topics. Again, I would want you to explore our website. Then there is a syllabus section. You can read it from there. primepathshala.com again. there is a great list of topics there. How much depth should we need to study BitMask? Some standard topics. BitMask is not needed in that depth, but other topics definitely. Like so most common ones that are asked, like even if we take something like binary search, there are a lot of concepts that needs to be covered in binary search, like concept of monotonic functions, concept of binary search on answer, and all that stuff. So yeah, even in stacks, there is next greater element and related concepts. So you need to cover depth more. It's not about number of problems, but it's more like you need to cover the depth. Do we make easier find and search function by bit masking? Easier find and search, I did not get that. Just this, like if you look at this code only, you are doing a lot of stuff here, right, to generate the bit set. Otherwise it would have been a simple loop for I equal to 0 to 2 to the power n minus 1. So you have your number, you convert it into binary, and then you get a set and print it. Right, wherever it is 1, you print that. Wherever it is not 1, you don't print that. And that's it, right? This will be very simpler. Even in terms of space, this is much better, space complexity versus this. This you need to create this extra space of set and do all that stuff. There you don't need anything, right? You just generate, print, and so on. Yeah, variety of problems you bit masking is a common technique. It's a technique, right? So used in variety of problems throughout. Yeah, space complexity, yes. Time complexity, no. Time complexity is still the same. Good backtracking question. I think there are a lot of famous ones. There are some questions like word search. There is question like N queen, Sudoku. All those questions come under backtracking. But again, don't go for backtracking. First, go for recursion. Make sure that even if a small code is written of recursion, you are able to derive output for it, right? That's the best practice that you can do for recursion. Okay. If you are compatible with that, then the next step is writing yourself a recursive code. For that, also take small problems and implement it. Okay. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, someone is. You want to open it for Q&A? Kriti?